Alright, so before getting started today, I wanted to remind you that the Sleeve Sheaf huge summer sale is still going on and you can get 15% off with my code Shadow on all the new products and the old ones that were restocked. So make sure to use my affiliate link in the description box below, as well as if you get anything, let me know down in the comments because I really want to know which accessories you're getting. And yeah, code Shadow, 15% off. Make sure to keep that in mind until the end of this week. And today, for today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the deck lists for post-Duelist Nexus. So obviously the format is only like 2 days old or something, and not a lot of events happened, but some are post-Dune from pre-Dune, and of course we had the remote duel extravaganza as well. So there is some deck lists that we can take a look at. The first one is going to be Rika. Obviously nothing new post-Dune, and we can see sort of what Rika has been doing, you know, and usually the deck lists are very, very similar, but the tech cards are different. So for this one, we have Pankratops Impermanence, as well as Ash, Evenly, Harpies, and I like that there's like fair distribution between hand traps and also like power trap cards going second, like evenly, so not just hand traps. And I think this is a pattern we're going to be seeing with other deck lists as well. They're going to play like a combination of everything, but for the most part the list is quite basic, very similar to the European Championship list. And moving on, we have a Runic deck. Now I think Runic is going to sort of have a little bit of a tough time moving forward because you don't have enough space for tech cards and stuff like that. So with this one, the build is very similar to everything we have seen, and it might just be that this tournament was like Runic was maybe more favored because there isn't that much development. People aren't that used to new decks yet. So someone that's like well versed with a deck can do better, I think. But moving forward, we'll see if Runic is actually able to hang. They only played 6 of the non-engine cards. They're like hardcore non-engine going second. So I think that's going to be kind of hard for Runic moving forward. But yeah, the list is very similar to everything we've been seeing with Runic. Then we have Ultrageist. I think we have a couple of different Ultrageist lists, but in reality, they're probably quite similar. What happened to Ultrageist is basically that the lineup of trap cards is very similar, and you also have Ash, which was usually the case. There's a couple support cards naturally, but it's interesting because there is no more extravagance or duality now. I think the Pot of Prosperity is really doing the job, and also extravagance cannot be, you just can't afford it, pretty much. Like the random banishing cannot be random anymore because you actually need your extra deck in this build. So that's really interesting. But other than that, the build is quite basic for what Ultrageist has been doing. There's a Secret Village, naturally. You need to have like an alternate win condition. And going second cards as well, you know, Impermanence, Evenly, Ash. And then post side, you have Kaijus as well. And then there is the obligatory Floodgate, of course. And then this one surprised me. So this is Super Heavy Samurai, and it's pure, which is really, really interesting. I wasn't under the impression that Super Heavy Samurai will be able to do anything in this format or actually overall post the ban list. So this is interesting. Again, it is only like one of the first tournaments post-Dune, so I think we need to take this with a grain of salt, but still props to the player naturally. But yeah, as for like tech cards, there is Ghostbow, which is interesting. One Santa Claus and everything else is like engine, and then the basic hand traps like Droll, Valor, and Ash, which I think we will be seeing in the meta moving forward. And side deck, there is like, man, I don't know this card over here. If you know what this is, please let me know down in the comments. And moving on to Unchained, so this is one of the new decks, of course. We're going to be covering Inferno, Unchained, a lot of those. And when it comes to Unchained, we don't have the side deck, unfortunately, but as for the actual deck, there is basically everything Unchained. There's a couple Kaijus and the Slumber, so I think it is a going second list, probably. They usually are. And you also have Nibiru and Ash, so you have enough space to play tech cards, and also you can boost your consistency with obviously Prosperity and also your going second ability, because you can excavate into Kaijus, etc. And of course the Slumber. Overall, I'm kind of interested in what Unchained is going to be able to do moving forward. And then we have another Rika list. We're just going to be quick with these ones. So this is like a clean 40 list. We have Evenly, Impermanence, Ash, Dark Ruler. So again, a combination of going second power spell cards and trap cards, and then hand traps. Side decks are usually looking very similar among themselves, but this one is actually playing the Therian package in the side deck. So interesting. I kind of like this actually. It's very interesting because it's like makes the main deck more consistent because it's like clean 40 and you can see your going second cards more easily as well. You also have the thrust, but then you can side into like these kinds of cards, maybe going first to boost up your end board, etc. So yeah, I think that's cool. Very interesting. I also love the like all of the thrust targets. Seems very well thought out, so that's cool. Another altar, guys. So similar to the one we saw, this one does play the Haunted Rock. I'm not sure if the other one played it, but again, we only see Prosperity and 1-for-1 when it comes to spell cards. Like, I think Altergeist actually has a chance moving forward. Maybe not at the bigger events, although they might surprise us. But yeah, like locals, regionals, I think Geist isn't a bad choice. Another Rika, so let's take a look at this one. We see the Therian package in the main deck. The Rika lineup is usually very standard. One Kurikara in the main as well as Pankratops. There is, of course, the 2 Lone Fire. We have Ash, Small World. So I like this version. I think Small World is cool. And, of course, the Rika Sheet. Let's see. Yeah, everything is kind of Rika basic, I think. But it's cool to see, like, different tech cards in the same deck pretty much. Another Rika. So here we have Impermanence, Dark Ruler, Double Talents, Harpies in the main again, so there's a lot of Harpies in the main, especially in tandem with cards like Thrust, but it can also just be played separately. And Ash. Ash just seems like the go-to hand trap moving forward, but Draw is next to it, most definitely. If it's not in the main, it is in the side. And then we have, okay, so a different list, not the Rika anymore. We have a Chapchik's list. So let's see. There's a Change of Heart for going second as well as Pankratops. So this is sort of out of the ordinary, but for the most part, the list is quite basic. So how these decklists are usually looking, it's a couple of the different whole trap cards, Impermanence, Ash, and then the lineup of monsters. I think that's cool. I'm not against this deck. I think there are a couple better decks than this one, probably, if you're looking at trap decks. But in my opinion, it can still hold its own. So yeah, maybe like going second, it gets a bit tough because you only have like 6 to 8, maybe 9 going second cards, which isn't ideal. You might want to have more. But I guess post side, you also have like very impactful ones. So you're sort of mitigating that by using these ones. So yeah, I think it's interesting. Also 3 Lancia. And then moving on, we have Lancia is also not bad in like trap cards when you set a bunch of things going first because you can like use it against evenly. And I think that's also not bad. Yeah, you would be setting a lot and making a huge board. And you don't necessarily have negates per se. There isn't a single judgment or something. So yeah, Lancia is good for that as well. Then we have Marinces. So this one is first place. And if you look at the breakdown from the Remote Duo Extravaganza, I think it made it to like top 8, maybe even higher. I'm not certain. But yeah, you know, Marinces is over here, most definitely representing because like you have so many tech card spaces. So this is like 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and then Droplet, which is 18. Usually Marinces would play around 18, and it's only 2 over 40. And there's also the Dream Shark, which is a free special summon, Small World. I like this list a lot. I think it's really cool. And then the Reborns, so you can most definitely put a Marinces on board and continue doing your Marinces combos. Yeah, I think it's cool. Definitely a deck with a lot of potential moving forward. And then we also have Rescue Ace. Let's look at the tech cards again. So the lineup of monsters, I think, is going to be quite standard, but it is a mid-range deck most definitely. So you need to have hand traps and stuff like that to also stop your opponent. Book of Moon, I think, is going to be a cool card. And of course, you need the Prosperity for consistency. Overall, the support helped a lot of things with this deck. So I think it is going to have potential moving forward. And then here we have Bistios, which are in a lot of people's side decks, actually. Then there is Infernoble, and I think we have 2 lists. This one is 50, the other one is 40. So I'm not against 50 in decks that play equip cards. I think that's cool. And also in this current format where you need to have a lot of hand traps and stuff like that, and like tech cards overall, you kind of have to probably go over 40 to make sure you fit everything in, and also your combo pieces. So this is like Infernoble cards, of course. We have Revolution Synchron in here. Fireflame Lady. So we have Fenrir, Impermanence. Then this package of Thrust and the Target, and also this target, obviously, we have Dark Ruler. So there is a couple going second cards, but yeah, this deck is much better going first, most definitely. So some of the combo decks are going to probably struggle going second because you need to have all your pieces and then non-engine as well, which is not that easy to establish, especially if you go over 40. So yeah, you need to definitely have all your ratios sorted out. But yeah, as for the deck itself, I think it's going to be very cool. The Link one is amazing. For going second, of course, you have quite a strong side deck with impactful cards. And then, of course, we have a Kashtira. I think we have multiple Kashtira lists, but they are very, very similar. And they're just like basically what Kashtira has been doing. And the only thing that's been changing is, of course, hand traps. So this list is not that heavy with book cards or like a Forbidden Lance or something, but there is a couple hand traps and there is talents. But yeah, Shifter is going to be very impactful. Mourner is going to be a nice card moving forward. It's a little more flexible than Veiler in a couple situations. And then as for the extra deck, yeah, standard. Of course, Baron, which is great in tandem with the level 3 tuners. And then we have Kurikara, which Kurikara was in a couple people's deck list. I think it's also going to be quite strong moving forward if people play into it. And then we have Drow, Dark Ruler, Twister, and also Anti-Spell. Another Pearly list, or I'm not sure if this is the first one, but I know there's a couple different ones. So this one is playing Thrust together with Talents, Dark Ruler, and Harpies as targets. You also have Impermanence. And there is 2 book cards, Prosperity and Ash. Other than that, of course, it is the Pearly engine. Again, Bestios in the side deck. Grave of the Super Ancient Organism is another card we're going to be seeing a lot. And then we also have Cosmic and Lightning Storm for back row removal. Summon Limit is very strong in this deck as well. So definitely you can make great usage of this. And then we have another Kashtira list. So this one does play the book cards, only Book of Moon though, and Dark Hole in the main deck, and Forbidden Lands. So yeah, usually Kashtira lists are just going to be different when it comes to tech cards, but Ash and Shifter are still definitely at the forefront of hand traps. And then we also have a couple Kaijus together with Pankratops, Trapchick with D-Barrier, which is cool. D-Barrier is also going to be a strong card going first, and Eradicator. Yeah, you know, Eradicator. And then we have Flunder. So quickly going over this list, very, very basic Flunder list. But you know, like Flunder does what it does best when it's at its most basic probably, and then you need to like prepare for your meta with the tech cards. So yeah, I kind of like this list actually. You have Evenly, Ruler, and Book as your non-engine, which is fine, I think, you know. Sometimes hand traps will be a bit better in certain situations. I wanted to cover at least one build from the Pile Adventure deck. So this one is also very similar to Infernoble in a sense where like going first, you're going to be doing great if you don't get hand trapped and if your combo goes through. But going second, you are going to struggle a bit. Of course, the adventure engine is like, it's huge and it is kind of full of bricks. And of course, you're gonna like side some things out going second, but still it's not ideal. You know, you have Ash, Talents, and you have Book of Moon, which I don't think is enough, especially in a 50 card list. So I'm very interested to what happens with this deck moving forward. And then you have like a couple cards in the side deck, of course, to make going second easier for yourself. But I don't know. It might thrive in the next format, but it just might fall off. We'll see. And then we have Branded. So this one is like, I guess the interesting couple of things would be Keeper of the Dragon Magic. There is still the Puppet Lock, a small Prada Plant engine, no Edgimp. Of course, you have the Keeper of the Dragon Magic and no Polymerization. So this is just like, they decided to omit that engine. And Ruler, Talents, Evenly. So this deck, again, is also going to struggle because you need all of your engine pieces. So it is strong, but it's not ideal in a meta where you need to play a ton of hand traps. And then, of course, we also saw here the Cross Designator with a couple targets and Jinzo for, you know, the trap card matchup. Another Pearly list, which they decided to play a discard engine, and then a couple different cards when it comes to the tech cards. So Nibiru, Troll, and Ash in this particular main deck, as well as Dark Ruler. So yeah, I like the Vanity's Fiend as well in the Pearly side decks. I think it's a very cool tech. Very annoying, but very cool. And also another Summon Limit here. And then Prosperity in the side, which is interesting. So this is like, okay, very interesting choice. And I guess, yeah, moving on to another deck, which didn't play Prosperity at all. So you can really decide what you want to get, also depending on your budget. This one played DD Crow, Droll, Impermanence Ash, and then in the side deck again, Bestios, a Vanity's Fiend, but no summon limit. Other than that, very similar main decks. There is the Thrust with talents as well, but no Harpies. There is one in the side though. Moving on, we have Mikanko with Infernoble cards, Revolution Synchron, with the Souls package, and I guess you have a couple going second cards, but only 6, which isn't that great. Overall, like, again, one of these decks, like, I'm not bashing them, but sometimes they're gonna do well at, like, the starting tournaments of the format. Also smaller ones, I'm not sure how big this one was, but it must have been, like, local/regional level, which Mikanko might get a top or two. So yeah, you know, interesting deck that made it, I guess, that far into the tournament. Another Kashtira list, this one has hand traps, Droll, Ash, and the Shifter, as well as a book card and lands. Very similar to the last list we saw, but yeah, Ash and Shifter are pretty much everywhere. And there's a couple Ghost Bell like appearances in a couple people's deck lists. And then we also have Infernoble, which is the 40 card version that I mentioned earlier. And this one essentially just plays, of course, the lineup, but you don't have as many other cards. So then you have like more chances of actually seeing your non-engine for going second as well, which it is only 9 slots. Not ideal, but not horrible, is all I'm gonna say. And then you have, of course, some other cards for going second. And the last list we're going to be covering is Labyrinth from the Remote Duo Extravaganza. So Labyrinth did take first place, and this build is essentially, yeah, it's pretty much like a mashup of everything that Labyrinth does. Like there's Floodgates, normal chap cards, evenly for going second, other going second cards, furniture cards. It's just everything. Everything is happening in this deck. But yeah, of course, props to the person for getting first place. And in the side deck, we have Vishtios, Kurikara, the usual cards, and also Droll, and a couple other trap cards, and of course the hated Eradicator. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the deck list. Hopefully I didn't go too fast. I wanted to cover all of them, but like for the most part, not a lot of decks changed. Like Rika, Kashtira, Labyrinth, they're just gonna be doing what they have been doing, but a couple of these interesting ones, of course, I wanted to cover. So hopefully you got something from it, some inspiration for building your own decks. And if you did like this video, make sure to like it, and of course, head on over to Sleeve Sheave and cop some products. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.